Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Radio Free Wall Street. What a show. What a time. Oh, I've been on the phone with some of my top guys, okay? And let me give you a little bit of background. If you've ever been involved with some of these federal prosecutors, for a lot of them it's just, kind of like business as usual. Some people are a plumber and I'm a prosecutor, and they do their job and they make the case, and the evidence leads where it was, and they just fill out the forms and just follow what they're supposed to do, okay? And it's if they tell you nothing personal, it really is true. It's just, it's just what I do. But sometimes they get passionate. Sometimes the people are such scumbags that that becomes a matter of pride, and it's personal. And Donald Trump, with his bullshit with Rudy Giuliani, attacking the investigators and the investigation, has made it personal. It might be deep straight conspiracy, all that. I'm not even going to argue with you about that. But this has gotten very personal, and there are people who are very pissed off, and there are people who are very insulted, and they are enraged, they are outraged, and they are going after Donald Trump. So when Donald Trump says the FBI is after him, you're damn right they are. Now, whether or not they're biased against it, well, yeah, they are. And that's just the way humans are. And when you attack them, they attack back. Is that making sense? Now, let me explain to you what's happened. For a long time, I have been very adamant about the fact that deep state conspiracy, whatever when Donald Trump says, hey, I fired Comey, I've ended this Russian investigation, I had to ask myself why. When I heard Donald Trump, and I heard it wasn't a deep state, and Hillary didn't make him do it, about how Russia, if you have those 30,000 emails and you can find them, be richly rewarded. I heard him say that, okay? It wasn't a joke, it was serious. And that started a chain of events that has led to where we're at today. Now, the investigators, they've got hard evidence. They have proof that Russia did indeed get those emails after Donald Trump asked them to, did indeed release them to influence the election, and with the Cambridge Analyticals and all the other stories we've been telling you. Now, here's where it's the payback time. I truly believe that Donald Trump has been compromised by the Russians. Absolutely, positively. Now, it's not like jump off the bridge kind of compromise, but I think they have undue influence over him. I believe that they did absolutely collude with him to help him win. I do feel like he acts like he owes them. It's a problem, not a crisis, okay? Now, if the allegations are that they've really got blackmailing information on him about, the stormy weather kind of syndrome that we know Donald Trump has a penchant for, and if they truly have information about money laundering, financial dealings, and those kind of things, and if they truly have information about there was collusion with the election, and they worked together with members of his staff to get him elected and using the Russian troll farm, he's got a problem. Now, there are people who are in the investigation emphatically tell me that, yes, sure as shit, that is what went on. That's what drug us in the investigation, was that there was too many intercepts, too many contacts with Russians, and we got very concerned. And doing our job, it led us down this road, and it's been a dicey affair. I don't think the FBI has ever been faced with something quite like this. So I think they have a real problem in the ethics standards. I think they, you can imagine from an law enforcement standpoint with the spook agents and all this stuff, you've got a man who's kind of off the wall running for president, and you got crazy shit going on, and you got contacts with Russians, and you got emails going back and forth, and you got secret communications, and you got collusion, and you got a Russian troll farm hacking. If they have that kind of thing, you can understand where it's unprecedented. The rule book doesn't tell them how to really act, and they flub this thing more than once, okay? But that would be understandable in the circumstances that people who are very rigid, people have a rule book that tells them they can take a shit. You can understand as a prosecutor's investigator with the forms they fill out and how they go about it. There's not a lot of room for flexibility. But the problem is that with an unorthodox, once-in-a-lifetime, never-seen-before kind of situation, you could see where they wouldn't know what to do. Not justifying, but just explaining it. Justification, explanations are two different things. Now, Donald Trump is not going to be promised a perfect investigation, but it's fair, okay? And it may be fairly obvious. Now, let me tell you what happened, though. This is where this part about where, You want to make it personal? Okay, we'll make it personal. Let me tell you what happened. They have got this huge dossier of files that went through Cambridge Analytica. They've been on it like stink on shit. And went back and then found out the servers, how they got into them, the time they got into them. Because remember, servers record data two ways, going in, going out. So they know what happened. They've got the IP addresses, and eventually the IP address leads to another address, leads to another address, another address, and you can worm your way through them, and they have. Gets back to the Russian troll farm. So I believe that Donald Trump has to go explain himself to Vladimir Putin. I truly believe he's going to go to listen, Vladimir, you got to understand, I can't lift the sanctions. There's too many people watching. There's a lot of pressure on that. Vladimir, I got to have to criticize you somehow, buddy. I mean, it's not like you think in America where I can just order investigations stopped or I can make people disappear. It's not that easy. Okay, I got a real problem. These investigators are getting very deep in there. So he had Vladimir pretty much calm down. Vladimir wanted him to piss all over NATO and weakening NATO because Vladimir Putin is going to take back the former Soviet colonies, okay? One by one. And Poland, everybody's been taking them time and again, so he's putting troops by Poland. It's getting uglier there. Here is the inside story. What they did is they understood that Trump is going to go kiss Vladimir's ass. He trashed NATO, which is what they expected it did, trashed our allies, and now is going to make lovey love with Vladimir. Well, Vladimir's watching. So Vladimir can see how he's making trouble with NATO and come in and make things for him, and that means that Vladimir's getting what he paid for. Vladimir expects when people are bought, they stay bought. And Donald Trump's been bought and paid for, in my humble opinion. And I think law enforcement understands that, so they decided, well, let's go ahead and make sure he's got some real problems. So right before he's about to get on the airplane and go see Vladimir, they drop a bombshell and where they're charging collusion and interference in the election and going after some people pretty important to Vladimir. Now Donald Trump has got to go, how in the hell do you explain this to Vladimir? Now, a very dear friend of mine, somebody who's very important to me, sent me a message. And there are people, we're smart people, let's talk straight. And, if you're here with us, well, that means, you're not part of the rum-dum squad in that you think, and you don't have to agree with everything I say, but I appreciate that I'm a source of information for you and hopefully a source of profits, and so we have a relationship. And my very dear friend, understanding where we're going, said that we were talking about these VX nerve gas attacks, okay? And they've been pretty powerful stuff. And this is not the stuff cooked up in some third world shithole lab. This is like state-of-the-art cutting edge. This stuff is odorless, colorless, tasteless, invisible, okay? And colorless. And you can put it on an object, no one would know it was there, like a doorknob. And if anyone touches it, they're dead. They're dead meat. That's it. Done. Absorbed through the skin. And there's been a lot of poisonings lately. And my friend sent me a message. She said, you understand an old Chinese proverb that says, you kill the chicken to slap the monkey so they can get the monkey's attention. And so I understand what that subtle hint meant. And do I believe that Vladimir Putin could be a very nasty man? I do. Do I believe that governments could go after officials in other governments? Yeah. If I was Donald Trump, I'd be very afraid of Vladimir Putin. I'd be very afraid of pissing him off because I think he can reach out and touch you. Okay? Yeah, I really think so. And I'm not the believer that, every time something's happened in America, that's just some lone nutcase doing it. I believe that, some of these assassinations were part of much greater conspiracies. And, that's just the way the world works, okay? I mean, leaders assassinate. I mean, remember Caesar? We have not come here to praise Caesar, but to bury him. E2, Brutus. So, there's always intrigue and all that. And my opinion is that Donald Trump's got a real problem, okay? The election interference by Putin's people is going to create very testy situation with Trump's visit there. It was released the day before he goes there. Guys, that's no accident, okay? That's payback, and it's like Vladimir is going to be pretty pissed off when he realizes that his boy that's bought and paid for is not delivering the goods. Vladimir is not a very understanding man, okay? I don't think he understands exactly how much trouble Donald has in getting his way with Russia. I don't think that Vladimir understands that Donald Trump's been, obviously those have eyes to see, has been bending over backwards to make Putin happy. But Putin doesn't understand it. See, Putin doesn't come from a democracy. And when things don't go Putin's ways, things happen, okay? So I think there's very much a disconnect there about what Putin realizes what Donald can do or not. And I also believe that Putin's not the most understanding man. So, like I said, I opened this thing up that, with the people in the investigation now, with the fact that their reputations have been smeared and the attack on Giuliani on them is, should I say, made this very personal. And so now Donald Trump's got to go talk to Putin and explain himself. And I can tell you for a fact that when Donald Trump got word of these indictments and this shit, he was stunned. I can tell you for a fact that he lost his cookies, as is often the case. And God damn, hell yeah, whatever. I mean, there was hell to pay. Donald Trump is a very tough thing. Now, they're trying to say that there's no allegations. Americans knew that they were corresponding with Russians, but there were, in fact, Americans who were corresponding with Russians, whether they had knowledge of that or not. And as one of my friends I just talked to said, it's all about plausible deniability. They knew. And the other thing that Donald Trump does not realize is that some very important cards that will prove collusion, that will prove contacts and intercepts that Donald Trump doesn't realize they have, is the ace in the hole that when the prosecutions start, when we pull down and go, oh, did you know that you're talking to Russia? No, I did not. You really? Well, here's this one, here you're saying this. Oh, and here's this NSA intercept here. Here's a satellite intercept. Oh, we have you on a satellite in the car. And here, oh, this is you, and this is your friend that you said you never met before and never knew. So I understand that those kind of documents exist. And I can tell you that many people on Russia that were involved in this thing have disappeared. He kind of folded up these operations. Vladimir has no loyalties, okay? You're going to have people that risk his life for him, and they will do his bidding. But once it looks like they can hurt him, they're bye-bye, gone history, and never to be found or seen from again. And there's been some of that happening, and I understand there will be a lot more of that happening. You understand? Now, the basic problem that Donald Trump has now is he's a very, 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 very pissed. He went off on a tirade calling the Mueller probe as a witch hunt. It is a witch hunt, and you're the witch. And they got the witch, and they hang witches, figuratively speaking. So Donald Trump's got himself a problem, okay? And it's getting closer and closer and closer. And watch him lose his cookies. So let me make sure you understand where I'm coming from, what I'm telling you. Donald Trump has got a great big problem, okay? And the situation is that although they want to spin this, these are Russian people and nobody knew about them, and if anybody was contacting them, they didn't know they were contacting them. That's bullshit. They knew. Got it? And now, Trump, who's been compromised by Putin, has got to go explain this to him, and he is not happy. It is my learned opinion that Donald Trump's got a great big problem here, and that events are more and more spinning out of control, and that there are more surprises awaiting Donald Trump that he's not understanding nor anticipating, and that these events will absolutely cause him major problems if things much worse than that can happen. So I want you to understand that Donald Trump has probably had the worst trip of any president I've ever seen, from the NATO flub-ups to attacking Germany to now attacking May in the Sun newspaper there. And he's now got to go talk to Putin going, oh, Vladimir, please, Vladimir, understand? I didn't know. Vladimir, I'm doing all I can do, Vladimir. No, Vladimir, I'm doing all. It's like, this is going to go very badly. And we're going to have to see. I wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't be surprised to see if there's a major flub up, and Donald Trump, says, which he said before. Vladimir was right in taking the Crimea Peninsula because a lot of those people speak Russian. He actually said that. Okay? It's like, what? Say what? There are a lot of people, in San Diego who speak Spanish. Mexico come and take Southern California. I mean, what are we talking about? A lot of people in South Florida who speak Spanish. Could Spain sail over here and say, we're taking Florida? I mean, this is some crazy-ass shit. And, this is not coming from that guy in the factory store. I expect that guy to be an idiot. This is the President of the United States. Shocking. So, Donald Trump is now going to have to bring up election interference. He's got to talk about Syria, Crimea, election meddling. It's not going to be a very good time for him. Hear my words. This is the kind of stuff that starts coming unglued. Donald Trump is under a lot of pressure. He's making lots of mistakes, okay? And remember, one thing that Donald Trump is foremost is forget Ivanka, forget Melania, forget Cohen. Donald Trump absolutely, positively has got to make sure that the Democrats don't take the House and Senate, because if they do, he's through. Toast. Put a fork in him. Bon voyage. Adios, amigo. See you later. Bye. He's got a problem. And the problem grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And let me tell you, these prosecutors are enraged. They're pissed. They really, truly know the crap Donald Trump pulled. Don't let him or anybody else shit you. And they're about to leash on us. Donald Trump is being played for a fool. They're setting a very clever trap, and Donald Trump keeps walking into them one at a time. There's no evidence of collusion. Well, he's going to save that card and say, here's videotape. Here are witnesses' statements. Here's collaboration. Oh, NSA intercepts. Hello, Vladimir. Yeah, you got the information. This is going to be really, really ugly. He doesn't understand what the witnesses know. He doesn't understand what they're saying. He doesn't understand what they're doing. And he's being very stupid. Hang on, green tea, guys. So this is a real revolution. Guys, this is a big deal. And this is a market event. Hang on a second. Green tea time. God, I love this stuff. Ooh. It's funny. When it gets past 5 o'clock, I can't drink more coffee. It tends to keep me awake for my 2-hour naps. But the green tea doesn't affect it at all. Okay, so I don't know what it has. A lot of caffeine into it. I guess it's maybe some kind of different kind of caffeine or something. Anyway, Donald Trump has got himself a big problem. And he really should cancel this trip. In fact, if he didn't, it's just like if he wasn't owned by Vladimir, he would say, Vladimir, do you see this indictment? Until you explain yourself and turn these people over, there's some it's off. Donald Trump does not have the luxury of doing that because Vladimir go, say what? What do you mean? Does Ivanka got a video player? This is crazy stuff. So Trump is moving into a realm that is very dangerous for him personally and politically, and it's becoming uglier by the day. And he's made, like I said, I've never seen a president make so many mistakes on a trip. Shooting from the hip, he's shooting his foot, and it feels good he shoots it again. But this bombshell, you guys, you need to keep this in perspective. This is a big shit. He's going to have to go there where normally any other president would call off the trip, say these allegations are serious, I can't collude with you any further, but he's trapped, so he's got to go there. And he's got to find some way to spin it. And Vladimir, on the other hand, knows that he can put a lot of pressure on Donald Trump. So, where does this go? This goes into the Twilight Zone, guys. This goes into some ugly problems with this president in the Helsinki summit. And I'm sure there will be lots of collusion there. And look what they did. They made sure they got the Friday. Look at this prosecutor. They made sure that they went ahead and dropped it on Friday to interfere with his victory lap in meeting the Queen in England. And then they made sure that all the Saturday and especially the Sunday news shows would pick up the story, and it would be the big deal. It overshadows everything. This is the story. This is everything about everything about everything. And it is a big snafu. And remember, they're watching very carefully about how Donald Trump handles this. They're playing him. They understand how to push his go buttons. They understand how to get to them. They understand where his fears and anxieties are, and they're playing to it, and they're watching. And they're watching closer. This is a big deal. It's not Russian meddling in the election. This is American agents provocateur being owned by the Russians. The Russians absolutely compromising a president. I mean, this stuff's out of Tom Clancy's spy book, novel. This is incredible shit. And this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually, I'm going to give another prediction. Even if Donald Trump keeps the House and Senate, after the elections, this could grow bigger and bigger and still blow up in his face. He's got himself a big problem here. And there's only so much of a stink that the loyal Republicans will take before they throw him under the bus. And this is not as easy a situation for old Donald as you might realize. And he's got himself a big problem here. And Putin's got a big problem here. This is remember, Putin's idea was to compromise the president, get the sanctions rolled back, which are crippling him, get the approval of the Crimea, get NATO gutted and neutralized, and Donald Trump's trying to deliver on those things, as you are seeing. But now, with this Russian thing up in the air, this all over the news about Russian meddling in the election, all this stuff, the deniability is not even plausible, even by Russian standards. I mean, this is a big shit. You know, Donald Trump's now going to have to play the nuclear card. Oh, yeah. Guys, do you want me to save the world like I did from Comey nunchucks to stop nuclear war? Well, Russia and I have agreed to start START treaty all over again, and this time we're going to get rid of all the nukes. All the nukes! Yes, Vladimir has promised me. You know that kind of bullshit? So let's see how smart he is. That would be definitely the way to play this game, just kind of, you want me to worry about the elections? That's history. Hillary lost. How about if you let me save the world from nuclear holocaust? Isn't that a job I should do? The blow and go, like Kim Nunchucks. He saved us from a nuclear war, Kim Nunchucks, right? Kim Nunchucks gave up all his rockets, all his missiles, all his ICBMs. Oh, did I tell you? No more nukes, no more tests. And we're keeping the bodies. You're dealing with some nasty people who have a nasty agenda. Donald Trump's got himself a huge crisis building by the day. The prosecutors, like I said, brilliant move. Now they're going to wait and see how Donald Trump tries to spin this, what Vladimir does. They have other sources. This is a big deal. Okay, let me do it this way. Let's suppose that you had a president of the United States who was a Manchurian candidate. Let's suppose, I'm sure it's not true, that Donald Trump has been compromised both with the sex paid stuff, with financial dealings, and with collusion in the election. They can prove that Trump and his people did openly solicit and receive help in the election from Putin and his gang. Okay, let's just suppose. Imagine the power you'd have over a president with that. Do you imagine how you could influence him? Do you imagine how you could get him to do your bidding? And as an American, as a thinking, functioning one, not as a zombie one, you'd have to say there's a possibility here. You'd have to say this bears investigation. This probe is very important for all of us, because if it's not true, we need to know it. And if by some chance it is true, well, we have a very dangerous situation with a president that really should not be in office, not fit to be there. And a lot of responsible people have that opinion if they don't voice it publicly, okay? And there's a growing question about, where is Donald Trump in this thing? What is his intent? What is his motivation? And how do I make sense out of the things he does? You ever said, how do you make sense of the things he does? Because he's done some crazy shit. And you need to ask yourself that for consideration and wonder how does this go forward? And my answer to you is things could very easily spin out of control, both on the trade front, and we are in a trade war, on NATO negotiations, on a Russian attack on some of the former Soviet states. We have a recession leading to a depression. I mean, we have some very dangerous events here that potentially can unload on us and create some real disasters. So this is a big deal, whether it's a deep state or restate conspiracy, whether it's real or not. It definitely is now at the point where you need to consider it in the Trump depression. You need to consider the ramification of this thing, because it's real serious shit, guys. And today was a masterful work by a prosecutor who obviously hesitated for Donald Trump.